Hello, this is Dana and welcome to my channel, The Orchid Hut. Thank you for taking some of your time today to watch one of my orchid videos. I wanted to take just a couple of minutes today and give a little update on my growing space that is new for me this winter. In a second area of my house where I set up shelves and grow lights for the winter. And this was really my first winter season trying to maintain a larger number of orchids indoors. For the past, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years, I've had a handful of orchids indoors, but this is really the first year where I have really attempted to take care of such a large number of orchids indoors. Now, most of these spend outdoors in the spring, summer, and early part of the fall, and have really been inside since mid to late November. So when I set this up earlier, actually late last year, I did a video on that, and I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner of the screen if you would like to go back and watch the video where I set this up. But when I did that, I knew that these orchids would need to stay indoors probably until at least mid-March, maybe a week or two later, after we're well beyond the frost date for our area. And so that means that, it's coming to the end of February, so maybe these orchids will be indoors for another 3 or 4 weeks, hopefully, and then I will be able to be moving them back outside. But I really do think that I have seen a lot of benefit to having them inside growing under grow lights for the past 3 months. And the primary place, I think, where I see the biggest advantage is in the development of the root systems. Now, if you had these orchids indoors, maybe just by a window, maybe, they would really stall out and you wouldn't get much root growth. You wouldn't get much new vegetative growth. But I think the grow lights have really, really promoted root growth especially, and I think the vegetative growth is probably doing better than if I had not had the grow lights. It has slowed because clearly, this is not the prime growing season for orchids, but it hasn't stalled out completely, and I think many of my orchids have developed better root systems while they've been indoors under these lights. So I wanted to just show you a few examples of what I've noticed, and I'll do a few of these while the camera is on the tripod, and then I will take the camera off the tripod. It might get a little bit more shaky, but I'll take you around to other areas on the shelves where I can show you some interesting new root growth. Now, I have to say that the winter challenge that I have had have been my bulbophyllums, which I grow in wooden slat baskets, and my vandas, which I grow in wooden slat baskets. And I have, maybe between the bulbophyllums and the vandas, it's probably like about 10 orchids in baskets. And those have still caused me a problem this winter. I really don't have any place to set those up indoors, hanging in those baskets and still get ample light. So I've been having to bring them into the bathroom on the coldest of nights, and then when we have warm days, which is, several times a week, I can take them back outside and they can get some sun and fresh air, and I water them and that kind of thing. But it has been a little bit of a hassle going in and out with those wooden slat baskets. So I think my goal for next year will be to figure out some way to have those baskets hanging in the house and also have grow lights set up for them so that the only time I need to take them outside maybe is when they need to be watered. Okay, so let's have a look. And the first set of orchids that I want to show you are my Tolumnias. Now, this one actually had more fans last year, but you know, now what has happened over the winter is you can see a lot of really good new root growth down underneath that piece of ball moss, and it's really attaching to the cork mount. And then there is some really good new root growth from that fan, the new fan that's developing. And then even on this side, there's some new root growth attaching around the little twig that's part of the mount. So I do think that this Tolumnia has done better with its root growth than it even had when it was outside last year. Now, some of the older fans have died and I've removed those, but the roots on this are far better than they were last year. Okay, and then the next one that has really noticeable new root growth that's doing really well is this Tolumnia that's in this little decorative pot here. You can see the new root growth coming from that new fan. And then it's probably going to be harder to see down inside the pot because of the lighting, but there's a lot of new root growth around the edges. And then I think as far as developing bloom spikes, I'm really pleased with how my Bahamensis is doing with its spike. And you know, I don't think that this spike would have developed had it not been for the stronger light of the grow lights during the winter season, because it would have been too cold to have this outdoors, but inside it did really well, and anxious for that little bloom spike to open. Let's see if I can turn it so that it's really visible. Okay, and then this Cattleya on this cork mount, and there's a video on this, I'll put this in the upper right hand corner of the screen as well, but it didn't have the greatest of root systems. And so I really was hoping that this one would do something, and I think, you know, there's a positive sign here that there's new root growth right here. That's a branch from one of the older roots. And so I think this one will be okay if it's already putting on new root growth in the temperatures that I have indoors as well as under the lights. Okay, so let me take the camera off the tripod. It might be a little bit shaky. And you can see that there's a window over to the left-hand side, and it's a very dreary day today, kind of cold outside. We dropped 30 degrees overnight. Unbelievable. So today there's not much light coming in that window. On other days there's maybe a little, but the primary light here has been the grow lights. And then up above, I call that my octopus light that is over the tallest of the plants on the top shelf. Okay, so I'm going to break the video here and go to the other side. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the vanilla Planifolia, which tends to like high humidity and warm temperatures. And even indoors over the winter, it does have a new growth right there. So it hasn't stalled out completely while being indoors over the winter. And then my really, really large Cattleya with the bloom sheath that's developing also has some really great new root growth. And then on one of the shelves, these are Phalaenopsis, as well as some Cattleya types. And the one at the back, you can see, just has really phenomenal root growth coming out of the pot. And then again, the top shelf under the octopus lights, all doing really well. Okay, so lessons learned. I think the grow lights really do produce better root growth over the winter. And next year my plan is to figure out some way to have my wooden slat baskets more permanently in the house so that I don't have to be going in and out with them quite so often. Really, really tall dendrobium here. Not quite sure what this one's going to do, but we shall see. It's a species muschatum. Lots of little cakeys. I'll probably be doing a repotting or some sort of mounting video with those cakeys. Alright, so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and the subscribe button will be coming up in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. If you have been growing orchids under grow lights this winter, please leave me a comment and let me know how yours did. Thanks so much for watching, and talk to you next time.